Despite some signs of life late in the game, the New England Patriots once again futile in all three phases of football. What does it mean for the future of this Pats team? Stick around. You're about to be locked in to the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful. Thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. I'm your host, Mike DeBate. I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country. Reach out to me. Let me know what's on your mind on X at MDABATENFL. You can also find me where the skies are blue on Blue Sky at MDABATENFL.bsky.social. And of course, if you're showing love to Locked On Patriots social media style, follow our X account at LO_Patriots. And Pats fans, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And Pats fans, unfortunately, it is not a victory Monday to kick off your Thanksgiving week. It is a melancholy Monday, maybe even a little bit of a monster mad Monday. Drake Maye completing 22 of 37 passes for 221 yards with 26 yards rushing. But the defense and the offense could not overcome an overall sloppy performance in all three phases. Miami Dolphins, folks, they came to play, especially in the first half, and the Patriots were not able to get anything going. Unfortunately, it means a loss for your New England Patriots. 34-15 in Miami Gardens, Florida, Hard Rock Stadium, dropping the Patriots to a lowly 3-9 on the season. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, there's a lot to dissect in this one, and we're going to slice it up for you and put it on a plate. And what better way to kick off the week here on Thanksgiving week, even though it's a melancholy Monday, and the wisdom and counsel of my good friend, the legend himself, Thomas Murphy. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for coming to me in friendship, especially on a dismal Monday, Don Murph.
This was rough, man. This was rough. You spend all this time cutting keys for a team and have this coaching staff go out with a group so unprepared, it was unbelievable. The game plan for anybody facing the Patriots right now is give your quarterback 2.5 seconds and go away from Gonzalez. That's it. It was awful. And wait for this team to step on their own foot.
Very eloquently put. I love the restraint, folks. You can definitely hear the restraint in Murph's voice today. And bottom line, I think it's all over New England right now, Murph, because I do believe there is a level of apathy that right now has prevailed the fan base, maybe even the team itself. We'll get into that in just a moment. Yeah. That's a little disturbing, folks. But bottom line, I think everyone is understanding this is a 3-9 football team. They're playing not just for 2025, but maybe even beyond 2026, 2027, before this team is once again relevant. But you want to see growth. You want to see some sort of spark that allows you to believe that better days are ahead and maybe not so far ahead in the future. We certainly did not see that on the field yesterday. There were a couple of glimmering moments in the second half where this team started to show a little fight, and then all of a sudden you start to see the regressions again. Murph, we'll start on the defensive side of the ball because I know you were monster mad that your keys were not turned on the defensive side of the ball. Patriots did not have any answers, in my opinion, for Tua Tagovailoa yesterday, throwing one of his best games of the season. Miami scoring 24 points in the second quarter alone, and really, I think, bringing a heat that the Pats, quite honestly, did not look prepared for. And I don't think Miami did anything overly exotic, overly surprising. I don't think they did anything that we haven't seen before, but this was a dominant performance. When you are able to utilize Jalen Waddle for 8 catches, 144 yards and a touchdown. Jonnu Smith all of a sudden becoming a Patriot killer of all things.
No sweat.
9 catches, 87 yards for a touchdown. You're using weapons that I think Patriots fans and Patriots coaches really should have known were going to be the targets. If
Right.
you're putting Christian Gonzalez on Tyreek Hill, that's probably another opportunity for you to try to erase what Tyreek does. So make the other guys beat you.
Yep.
The other guys certainly had no problem doing that
None.
on Sunday.
None. And you can point your first finger at Kyle Duggar. All right. I was really disgusted with Kyle Duggar's effort and awareness of the game and where he was. Jonnu Smith's touchdown, that was completely on Duggar. He was slow to get there, and it was Devon Etche's second touchdown was yep, thank you. That was on Duggar. He got flagged for a pass interference. He needs to be, this is a man that you just gave a ton of money to, and he's not earning that cash. And yes, I understand that some people are saying that he's banged up and he's playing a little bit hurt. If you can't do the job, don't be out there.
Completely agreed. And look, when you look at this defense, I think the thing that bothers me the most, and I think the thing that bothers Patriots fans most,
in-game communication. No, we're going off script here, man. I'm tired of this. What Gerard Mayo had to say after the game, and granted, he was baited into this answer a little bit, but he still could have chose his words a lot differently than he did. To say that I have no control over what these guys do once they cross that white lines. Yes, you do. Call a timeout.
Yeah.
Call a timeout. Bring the defense over. You're a defensive-minded coach, all right? You're a guy that is the head coach of this team, and I don't know how many times I saw Bill Belichick over there in front of the defense with pushing his defensive coordinator aside and getting into these guys' heads and getting into these guys' faces and saying, look, and this is what needs to be done, and you're not doing it. Or just going over and saying, hey, man, good job, good pad level, way to keep it going. Keep this up and we win this game.
Right.
I get none of that from Mayo. None of it. All right. And it really, that statement after the game really ticked me off.
I would love to try to argue the converse, but I'm right there with you this week. This team has not only a lack of discipline, they not only have a lack of communication and awareness, but I think a lack of accountability when it comes to these matters. And I think you've articulated that perfectly. Yes, the head coach does have control over what these players do on the field.
Right.
If you don't like what they're doing, make an example if you have to. This team is 3-8. It's 3-9. You're not going out there and trying to win to jockey for a playoff position. I understand leaving your best players on the field if you have to do that. But if guys are going off script, you've got to pull them off and say, hey, look, I don't care what happened last year. Bill has 6 rings here. He's a future Hall of Famer. This guy already has his ticket punched to Canton, but he's not here anymore. I'm here. I'm the coach. And you have to do what I tell you to do. Listen to your coaches, listen to this staff, and if you don't like it, we can make arrangements after the season. But right now, while you're here, you're going to do what I tell you to do. I don't see that from this coaching staff, and it needs to happen if this team is going to gain that accountability, that respect that they have, not just for their coaches, but for winning. Yeah, you can hear Murph and I are animated this morning.
Make the tough decisions. That's your job.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. And I understand, and I do, folks, understand there will be several of you out there that will say it's a lot easier said than done. I get that. Because you are taking players that do have established pedigree off the field and putting out there guys that may not be up to the challenge or ready to go. But if you're going to forge some sort of foundation for the future, you have to have guys that are buying into your system. If guys are not buying into your system, they're going off script. They're telling you, I know more than you on the sidelines. That can't happen. If this coaching staff and this administration is going to continue to move forward, that can't happen.
It really can't, and you can't even blame guys playing out of position this week. You can also get on the coaching staff for once again not pivoting and making adjustments in game. Okay, when one thing wasn't working, it took a little too long to start flooding the backfield with defensive backs. All right, it just too long, and that second quarter was horrific.
Yeah.
And the Patriots helped themselves, not one bit with what was it, 10 penalties, 10 accepted penalties, 75
penalties. Yep. 6 of those came in the first half that were pre-snap penalties, Murph.
That's disgusting.
And
You
I
can't
understand not
have
all
that.
of them are on the defensive side of the ball, but I mean, come on. I mean,
Right.
there's got to be a level of discipline here that needs to be done. And this is too common of a tale to ignore any longer. It's not like, oh, well, that was an anomaly. That was one game where
Right.
the Patriots showed a lack of
We've
discipline.
been preaching this, and others have been preaching this since week 2.
Right.
Okay, this team is not good enough to overcome those kinds of mental errors. And that's what it is. Me. Me is mental error.
Yep.
ME, mental errors, and that's what this is. All right, it's not roughing the passers. It's not it's not even getting on a DB for a pass interference. All right, we're talking about mental errors. Just
Right.
knowing your cadence. I know it's loud down there. You got to block this stuff out. Okay, and I realize the Patriots on average have had a really difficult time down there in Miami. But no, you've got to step up and you've got to come to work. And nobody came to work except Christian Gonzalez yesterday.
So glad that you mentioned Christian Gonzalez, because if there's one man that may have a slight shred of immunity
Yep.
From the vitriol that we're throwing all around for the Patriots' performance on the field yesterday, it was Christian Gonzalez, not only shadowing Tyreek Hill and I think doing an admirable job of keeping him in check, but also being one of the very few that had his head in the game for the full game, the scoop and score in the second half. In your opinion, Christian Gonzalez's performance yesterday, if there is any slight takeaway from the defense, that may be one that the Patriots can build on a little bit, I think.
Right. I want to know, again, what DeMarcus Covington was thinking. All right. Gonzalez, 41 dropback snaps. He was on Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle for the majority of the game. All right. I would have kept him on Hill the entire game and put somebody else on Waddle with some help over the top and see what happens there. They had, he ended up with giving up 2 catches for 24 yards with a pass breakup, and he did not have a bad game yesterday. He's the only star on this team from Sunday's loss.
Yeah, one guy that I think I probably would give maybe a little bit more leniency on my grading level is also Christian Barmore, coming back from the injury that he's had. I think what you saw from Gonzalez coverage and his shadowing of Tyreek Hill allowed that sack to take place. Christian's first of the season. You see the importance this kid has in that defense, and Barmore will come back into form. I mean, you can see that he's still getting his game legs back under him. He's still, really kind of conditioning himself. This is a guy that had not played a competitive snap on any football field since last January, folks.
And they did a good job of shutting down the run. Just 2.7 yards per carry yesterday. There were a couple, they didn't do a good job of covering men out of the backfield to catch passes, but they shut down the run. I think, what was it? The Dolphins ran the ball 24 times on the day.
And all you have to do is just look at the final stats, at the final tally sheet, Murph. 373 total yards for the Dolphins on Sunday. 308 of those came through the air, came through passing yards. And I think it pulls the curtain back on a big problem for this team. Outside corner is really kind of climbing its way up the list of big-time needs for the Patriots. Get Christian Gonzalez some help. This
missing Steve Belichick, are we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Missing Steve.
Yeah. It's true.
All right, missing the play caller over there. DeMarcus Covington is not the answer, and right now he's learning on the job, and it's costing Patriots Nation dearly.
Yeah, and you're finding a lot of learning on the job, Murph. I think it's on both sides of the ball right now, maybe in all 3 phases, but obviously the New England Patriots lost in Miami not just because of a dismal defensive performance, but Patriots were not able to even consider getting points on the board in the first half. This offense right now, led by Drake Maye, is led by a very courageous, hardworking young man, but he needs some help, and he needs some help in the coach's room as well to kind of coach some of these mechanics back up a little bit. Give this kid an opportunity to showcase what he can do. He's going to be great, but he needs to get that help. And Murph and I are going to talk about what went wrong on offense. And believe me, folks, there was plenty when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Well, our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and the history of the U.S. Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. And all of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. Don't delay, do it today. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Listen up, Locked On listeners. When it comes to daily fantasy sports, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. And what I love most about Prize Picks is that it puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And when you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. This week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at the football board and selecting the Thanksgiving free square. Tyreek Hill only needs to receive 1/2 of a receiving yard, that's 0.5 receiving yards, folks, for the projection to hit. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup when downloading the app today and using the code LOCKEDONNFL. Prize Picks. Run your game. Pats fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on this melancholy/Monster Mad Monday here on Locked On Patriots as the Patriots fall to the Miami Dolphins 34-15 in Miami Gardens at Hard Rock Stadium. Pats falling to 3-9 on the season and now heading into Thanksgiving week, their final game before a much-needed bye week against the Indianapolis Colts. And we'll get into the Colts matchup much later this week, but still a little early to move on from the Dolphins. There's still a lot of bitterness, a lot of vitriol that needs to be hurled at your favorite team in Foxborough. And here today to help me do that and lend his wisdom, counsel, and the anger with which his monster keys were not turned, my good friend Thomas Murphy. Murph, in the previous segment, we talked a lot about the New England Patriots defense. And once again, a fall flat defensive performance from this Pats team. You allow 34 points. You allow 24 of those in the first half. Ultimately, you find yourself saying that as bad as things were in the first half, they could have been even worse. But if you notice, the first half scoreboard included a 0 in the scoring column for your New England Patriots offense Sunday. We started to see a lot of the same regressions, a lot of the same problems, breakdowns along the offensive line. And as a result, Drake Maye found himself under a lot more duress than he's seen in the last couple of weeks. When you look at this team and their performance on the offensive side of the ball on Sunday, what stands out to you specifically? What in your monster keys were not turned that might have made life a little bit easier for Drake in the offense against Miami?
Pass protection, pass pro, pushing these Dolphins defensive ends back behind the our quarterback and allowing him to step up and giving him just a little bit of time for guys to get into. Vidarian Lowe had another terrible game. He's depth. He's not a starter. Okay, he's a second string, a third string guy. He's not a starter. What was happening, even up the middle, was again depressing. And there's really not a lot of help out there in the draft this year. There's no Joe Alt in this year's draft, guys. None. Okay, that's why I wanted him last year. I'm not saying that I'm unhappy with Drake or what he's done. Just don't look for the game changer on the offensive line coming here in April. because you might get lucky and hit on some guy in the second or third round, but there is nobody that I would take with a top 10 pick this year. It's going to have to be on the uh, on the free agent market, and they're going to have to go out and spend a little money and find a pair, maybe three tackles to come in here, maybe draft a guy in the second round. But no, I was really, really upset with the play of the offensive line on Sunday, from Brown to, we just talked about Lowe, and then again, the decision making of Drake Maye. Two more turnovers. Okay, two preventable turnovers. Okay, you've got to take care of the ball back there. Getting strip sacked again. All right, do some hand stretches, get them a little bit better. Learn to take the bullet and live to fight another day. Get down. Drake knows this. Drake. This is one of the things that impresses me most about him. While others were in the locker room yesterday, and you didn't see the absolute hate for their performance out on the field. You could see it in Drake Maye. All right, he was disgusted by his own play, and I think he's going to get better for it. A lot of the guys in that locker room were picture Brad Pitt coming into the A's locker room after like the eighth loss in Moneyball, and the guys dancing on tables and the tunes going and everything, and him taking a baseball bat to somebody's box, saying, and then the silence. That's what losing sounds like. And that's what that Patriots locker room should sound like. There were too many smiles. There were too many guys, just okay, off to the next one. I need more accountability. I need more ownership, and not just when the cameras are on you behind the podium.
I definitely see what you're saying in that regard. It bothers me too to hear about the fact that Drake Maye seemed to be the only one that was legitimately bothered by that loss yesterday. Look, folks, we all understand players are not machines. They're not robots. These are human beings. They have lives. They have families. They have outside interests. Losing when you're 3-9 is kind of more of an acceptance rather than a reversal of what is the norm around here. A lot of the guys in that locker room were not here for the dynasty days. Most of them weren't. So I get it. There are certain aspects of life that permeate through, and you have to smile through it and get through it for your own mental health. And no one is questioning that. But it's a level of accountability that needs to be there for a terrible performance in all three phases. And again, it comes back to what we were saying in the previous segment, Murph. Somebody has to set that tone. That tone is clearly not being set. So maybe Drake is trying to do that. I don't think he's at a level where he can.
Tone in the huddle.
Yeah.
All right. Polo said, nobody talks in this huddle except me. All right. Go out and get it done. And Drake is not immune. Drake knows what he did. He missed some he missed some easy throws yesterday that would have kept drives going. He threw behind people when he didn't really need to. Him and some of the wide receivers still can't be on the same page. They're still not on the same page.
Yeah.
All right. And these things should be ironed out by now. Okay, we are week 13, and these are not problems that should still be happening. Okay, you want to heap praise on somebody, then accept when they get a little criticism. And Drake Maye deserves a lot of criticism this week. Missed opportunities to keep drives going. You can only put you can still put 75% on stupid idiots jumping off sides and false starts and lining up incorrectly. And can we just line up correctly, people? But other than that, no, Drake's got to own some of it, and this wide receiver group has to own some of it. They didn't get into their routes quick enough. They weren't running the correct routes, at least, or they were, and Drake was just not thinking as they were, and that it does take a little bit of time. I'm not saying that this is something that should be automatic, but right now he shouldn't be missing this many.
Fair enough. And I firmly believe Drake would probably be the first to agree with you on that, judging by his post-game comments. He understands that. I'll be a Drake apologist for a second, and I'll just read some stats to all of you to try to even out things. I'm like even Steven Murph. I try to look at both sides of the coin. Patriots offensive line, you mentioned this earlier. They allow 4 sacks, 37% pressure rate. That's a lot for any quarterback
That's
to overcome.
terrible.
You look at the tackle play, Vidarian Lowe, 3 false starts and a hold.
Yep.
One of the hold wipes out what would have been a 19-yard gain.
Right.
That right there puts you at a major disadvantage. You can't have your starting left tackle, the guy that's supposed to be your blindside protector. That can't happen.
No.
I don't care. Any quarterback, even the most seasoned veteran, is going to be running for his life if that's the type of protection he's getting. And then you flip it over and you look at Demontre Jacobs. And when Steve Balestrieri joined me here on Friday, we mentioned this as potentially the most problematic matchup for the New England Patriots. And if it wasn't the most problematic matchup, it was definitely one of them.
Yep.
This is what we were worried about, and it happened. 7 quarterback pressures with a sack. Robinson ended up getting 9 total pressures in a really, I think, great performance from him.
Yeah.
This guy really showed up and showed that he is someone that can be a major problem for opposing quarterbacks.
Right.
And once again, Demontre Jacobs has problems when you have a pass rusher that can turn a long corner. He's good in the short corners, but if you give him a lot more leverage, he has difficulty catching up with it. He has to take some responsibility on that, but he's also, folks, playing a starting position that he hasn't grown into yet either. You're asking an awful lot of a youngster that is trying to do the best he can and simply can't execute without the proper coaching and the proper environment around him. So
Michael Jordan was another problem yesterday. Got replaced by City So on City So. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
You know, it's really a cluster there right now. When you are sitting there and you are just, waiting. If there was any indication on where Cole Strange should be, okay, whether it's going to be at center or over there at left guard where he is most comfortable, which is his position. He can do both, but I need him over there on the left side.
Yeah. Agreed, because that's where your bigger hole is. Ben Brown can keep you above water right now at the center position.
He can tread.
They don't
water
have an
there.
answer at the left side.
Nope.
They don't have an answer
They
at that
don't.
left guard position, and Cole needs to be there. And that's where he's most comfortable being a zone blocker. If you're going to institute this offense, let the guy that was brought in to block for it, give him a shot to be able to do what he can do. So, yeah, folks, it is not a pretty sight with the New England Patriots right now. Murph and I are steamed up about defensive play, offensive play, even the special teams getting in there and having some snafus. There's a lot to lament right now, but in the interest of ending on a high note, which Murph and I love to do, we try to do it each and every week. This may be one of the toughest dredges of the bottom of the barrel to find a silver lining. Murph and I are going to attempt to do that in just a moment when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast wraps up right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Let your New England fandom work for you by visiting FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win with your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots as we continue to break down the Patriots' 34-15 loss to the Miami Dolphins, dropping them to 3-9 on the season. As Week 12 is now in the books, and the Patriots look ahead to a Week 13 matchup with the Indianapolis Colts. But before we take our leave of this Dolphins debacle, we have to continue to break it down on all 3 phases, and here today to help us do that has been the legend himself, my good friend Thomas Murphy. Murph, you get highest marks from me in showing restraint this week because we know that when you get monster mad, you get monster mad, my friend, and
you guys
no one
didn't
can
want to
blame
be here
you
last
for that.
night.
I think you've shown a great deal of decorum today here on Locked On Patriots. So the tip of the cap to you for that, folks. I know you're all upset out there in Patriots Nation, folks. Maybe some of you are resigned to that and looking at this and saying, hey, we're closer to potentially the number one pick or a high draft pick. A lot of different ways to look at that. So I think this would be a great way to segue into our attempt, Murph, our gut-wrenching, difficult, strenuous attempt to try to find a silver lining from yesterday's loss. It is not easy. I think last week's loss to the Rams had a little bit more silver lining streaks than this one did, but I'm not going to steal your thunder, my friend. I'm going to give you the opportunity to take the baton first. Are there any positives that can be taken away from the football field at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida from Week 12?
Travis Hunter will probably be on the board when the Patriots pick.
Well, let's hope so.
There's my silver lining. Okay, I said before, guys, I'm not enamored with the left tackles, although we need them desperately here. That's my point, and that the Giants are definitely taking Shredder Sanders. Oh, but no, honestly, Christian Barmore is looking better and better every quarter that he plays. He was, he's who he is. There's a cornerstone right there. Of course, Christian Gonzalez had another amazing game, and of course, there's Drake Maye, and the upside is there. You could see what he was doing. Being able to extend plays and hit Austin Hooper on that touchdown. I mean, nobody but Patty Mahomes can hit a wide open tight end.
Not at
Nobody.
all.
Nobody with Patty Mahomes, but he was wide open there, and Drake saw him and got the ball there. I thought, when the ball left his hands, I was like, oh no. And then when I saw him, how open Junior was, I'm like, yay, all right. But no, there are some good building blocks here. But you cannot, anybody who's ever played with Lincoln Logs, knows that you need a lot of those corner pieces,
Mm-hmm.
all right, to be able to build a big strong house. And more is going to have to come this year, and the Patriots are going to have to be much more aggressive this off season. I'm expecting a lot of changes on this team. Unfortunately, guys are not living up to contracts that they were handed last year, and some tough decisions are going to have to be made.
Yeah, some tough decisions will have to be made, folks, and that laundry list of Patriots needs, whether it be the draft or whether it be free agency, is getting longer and longer and longer. And if you listen very closely, Murph, you can hear pencil sharpening in Connecticut, in your neck of the woods, and our good friend Miguel Benzon. He's keeping a written record. He's typing on the computer. He's getting his Excel spreadsheets together. He's getting ready for what will be an eventful offseason, because your New England Patriots have a lot of roster maneuvering to do and a lot of room to do it. So the tip of the cap, Miguel, it's going to be interesting.
The only problem, I mean, we've said it at nauseum here, that there are two forms of free agents out there: guys that have won and are looking for a bag, and guys that are looking for a ring. And so they're going to have to find a bigger bag and ways to bring Miguel in to figure out how to pay these guys the most, entice them the most to come here, because right now it doesn't look like the Pats are 2 players away from getting back to the promised land.
No, they're not. There's a lot of work to be done on this team, folks. And again, I think it lends itself into the argument about there being very few silver linings on this team. You've mentioned a couple that I would have mentioned, Murph. Obviously, Christian Gonzalez, I think if there's going to be a game ball that was going to be distributed from that debacle, you've got to give it to Christian and getting his first career touchdown. And I think playing a solid game from start to finish. I don't believe he deserves the vitriol that's being thrown at him. I just don't understand it.
No,
folks.
I don't get it.
There's no argument to me that can be made for that. Christian was not the problem yesterday, far from it. Drake Maye, obviously, there are building blocks there. There are moments he puts on the field and you say, wow, if he could just get some help around him and get some coaching in the right direction, this kid, the sky is the limit for him. And that's one of my silver linings. That off-script fourth quarter touchdown to Mr. Hooper Murph, Austin Hooper. No city hands for Hooper on
Nope.
Sunday, Mr. Murphy. Oh, the big 38-yard touchdown. Saw the
There
cover
you
two
go.
zone. Saw the four-man rush. No match for Mr. Hooper on Sunday, Murph. But no, all kidding aside, I think Austin Hooper has emerged as a nice complementary piece to Hunter Henry. This
Yep.
tight end combination, folks, can be utilized. If this is going to help spark that offense, do something to kind of get this kid going a little bit and give him some confidence heading into the latter part of the season, because that could be a combination that could be very well utilized. But bottom line, Bud, a whole lot to smile about in Patriots land
No,
this week. But
it's not. There were no keys turned. Very few keys turned. They didn't win the turnover battle. They didn't win the they didn't limit the laundry. They didn't get these guys off of these Miami receivers off their spot. It's all about the timing. That's it. It's all about the timing.
Yeah.
And with this offense, with this Miami offense, with what McDaniel does, and they didn't come in prepared. They really didn't.
Yeah. And time to be prepared is running thin,
Yeah.
folks, as we head into week 13. It's hard to believe, Murph. Feels like just the other day we were opening up the season with the Cincinnati Bengals in week
Right.
1, and here we are on the precipice of week 13. Going to be an interesting week in Foxborough as this team prepares to host the Indianapolis Colts, who come in desperately needing a win to keep pace with teams like the Miami Dolphins that are trying to earn that final playoff spot. This could be an opportunity for the Pats to play spoiler, and you know they'd love to do it against an old rival. I don't care if the players are not the same anymore. There's still a level of contempt for the horseshoe that's harbored up here in New England. We're going to get into that later on this week, but in the meantime, I want to give a major tip of the cap and a lot of kudos to my good friend, the legend himself, Thomas Murphy, for coming by here today, lending his wisdom and counsel, and for keeping his emotions somewhat in check as he laments the fact that the Patriots did not turn his monster keys to victory. But before I let you go, please let everyone know where they can reach out to you, interact with you, and what you got marinating in Murph's kitchen. Any pre-Thanksgiving delectables that are cooking right now in Murph's kitchen between now and when we welcome you back for the weekend.
You can follow me on Zitter at tmurph207. You can also follow me over there at Blue Sky at tmurph207. You can find me over there. I'm there once in a while. It's a nice little place.
Yeah.
It's the country house.
Nice place, good food.
Everybody needs a place. Yeah, everybody needs a place at the beach. That's my place at the beach. And of course, you can read me over at diehardbostonsportsfans.com.
When it comes to Patriots insight, my friend, in my opinion, you are second to none, and that's why you have an embroidered guest chair here on Locked On Patriots. We're honored and humbled to host you each and every week. And folks, we are honored by your support each and every day for Locked On Patriots, especially all of you everydayers who we give a tip of the cap to and a special nod, especially on this week that is all about giving thanks. And even though it is a holiday week, folks, Locked On Patriots is still 5 shows strong, including a crossover on Thanksgiving Day. So stay locked in. You are not going to want to miss a single second of the action.
Remember your food banks, people. Make it Thanksgiving for everyone, please.
Absolutely. If you are able and in a position to be able to give, please do. The impact and the difference that you can make when it comes to a family in need is truly immeasurable. Makes you the real MVPs out there this Thanksgiving season. Murph, thank you so much for that, and we appreciate it.
If you can't give your money, give your time.
Very, very well said.
This is important to me. Mike's known me for more than a decade now, and this is something that we take to heart here in the Murphy household every single year. And whatever you can drop off is fine, because the shelves are just empty over there.
Yeah.
Okay, trying to get people, a nice Thanksgiving meal. So even if you can't donate an entire meal, whatever you can bring, canned goods, whatever.
And folks, let's help to make everyone have a happy Thanksgiving, or as many as possible. And it starts with people like Murph, who keep that message alive each and every day.
Invite a neighbor over that might be alone.
Definitely. Definitely. These are all ways that you can make a difference in someone's life. The holidays can be joyous for so many of us. They can be painful for so many of us. If it takes just an act of kindness to make a difference in that person's life, you could change someone forever. And that's what really I think we all need to remember this holiday season. On behalf of my good friend Thomas Murphy, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to be mindful, to stay safe, to stay well, and to be the change that you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow on Locked On Patriots.
Happy Thanksgiving.